In this episode, you'll discover why making an impact trumps focusing on income every time, how to create your personal calling map to make any goal achievable, and what steps you can take tomorrow to get closer to your dream career and lifestyle freedom. Welcome to the Discovering Your Calling podcast. I'm your host, Sherry Miter. I'm here to help you unleash your strengths and get clarity on your calling. I believe when you find your purpose in life, fulfillment, joy, and success will follow. If you're ready, pop in those earbuds, hit that follow button, and join me on this journey toward discovering your calling. All right, my friend, are you ready to make an impact and create a plan of action to get you to any goal you want for your career and life? Well, welcome back to the Discovering Your Calling challenge that we have been doing and the Discovering Your Calling podcast. I am your host, Sherry Miter. And today we are on waypoint number 8. It's the final waypoint of our Discovering Your Calling challenge, our Discovering Your Calling Academy, and the Discovering Your Calling book of all the things. And I hope you've enjoyed this journey and you found a lot of value in it. I know trying to listen to these 8 waypoints has probably felt like sometimes, taking that sip of water from a fire hose, as they say. It can be a lot, but I hope you are able to pull out some little nuggets and know that there is a book coming. You've heard me mention that before. That'll make these a lot more tangible, I feel like, to really consume. Plus, I am working on a digital hybrid coaching course that will be launched in 2025, which I'll have more information coming to you very soon about that. I'm super, super excited about this new format of doing the Discovering Your Calling Academy in a small group way that you can start at any time, but still get that individual coaching from me along the way. So more on that in a future episode. But for now, let's wrap everything up. So if you have been following along on this Discovering Your Calling challenge journey, by now you should have a few ideas on what you might want to do in the future. What might be your career calling, even if it is going to be a side hustle or something that you're going to create. Maybe, you want to start it in 2025, but maybe you're not quite ready to step away from your current career. As I've shared before, it took me really 18 months between making the decision to leave my network marketing direct sales company to stepping away from it. So it's okay if it takes you a long process. This isn't meant to be an overnight, one day you're working here and the next day you're starting something new. It is a long process. So take that time, but hopefully you have some ideas now in your head. It's like, ooh, well, I could do this, or maybe I could do that. Maybe you have a few ideas. Today, our goal is to take one of those ideas, the strongest idea, the most exciting idea, and create what I call your personal calling map. Now, we've done mind mapping before, and it's kind of like that, but this is specifically to help you achieve a goal. So that's what the personal calling map. It's going to be your personal map, your personal way to get to where you want to be. And it's something that I learned a long time ago in my direct sales business on how to do this. And to me, it just makes it more achievable, because in the past I would, write out my to-do list and it would have like 100 things on it, especially if I was working on something new. And every time I look at that to-do list, I would just feel overwhelmed. And maybe you've experienced that before too. And when I felt overwhelmed, what do? We shut the notebook, right? Or wherever that to-do list is, we turn it over and we go binge watch something on Netflix. And when we can take all these ideas that are in our head and all these to-dos that we have and put them in a visual like this personal calling map, it makes it seem achievable. And I'm going to show you today how to get down to the really minute that, okay, I don't have 2 hours to devote to finding my calling, but I can give this one step 15 minutes. And then the next day, you do one more step. Maybe it only takes you 10 minutes. And then maybe another day, maybe you do have an hour to devote to a step. But you can do this in small little chunks. So I want you to imagine that you're stepping into 2025 and you're going to commit for a year to figure out your calling. Because in 2026, you'll be living in your calling. But it takes a while to get there. So by creating your personal calling map, and if you commit to that year, or maybe 6 months, maybe you can knock this off in 6 months, but you commit that every single day, you're going to take one baby step towards your dream life. By the end of 6 months, by the end of 12 months, you will have a totally different life. And if you did the visioneering step, you could create that life that you envisioned in that step. And that's what your personal calling map will help you do. Now, before we jump into creating your personal calling map, I want to talk a little bit about impact, because this Waypoint falls under what I call the impact pillar. And I call it the impact pillar because I have learned through my 25, 30 something years of being an entrepreneur that when you focus on making an impact over focusing on income, you will have better results. You will feel better about yourself. You will find that things just start to suddenly fall into place in ways you never even dreamed they could. I like those little miracles that God just plops in our lap sometimes that we totally didn't expect. And you never have that yucky, icky, stressful feeling when you are just focusing on like, I gotta make money. How can I make money? And when we get in that mindset of just focusing on making the income, we tend to get out of alignment with what really matters to us. And we tend to want to take shortcuts. And to be honest, if you chase the income, you may find the money. You may make great money, but you'll never have that true sense of fulfillment or purpose that you're seeking. And my guess is within a year or so, you will be burnt out. You'll be exhausted from not staying true to your core values and talents. And you're not going to be any closer to being who God designed you to be. Whereas if you truly focus on making an impact and using your gifts and talents to do that, you will make the income. It will follow. It's there waiting for you, but we have to keep the focus on impact over income. And I remember this from, I learned this the hard way in my years of being in direct sales and being a leader and in my company. And I was with Mary Kay. It's no secret, but when I got focused on achieving a goal and my focus was on what's in it for me and the income potential that I would have if I hit that goal, I would find myself either feeling like I was hitting a brick wall, like everything I planned just didn't work out. And it would be stressful. It would feel icky. Sometimes I would even get sick. And I just always felt out of alignment. Whereas those times I was able to really step back and really, really pour my heart and soul into focusing on people and making an impact with my business. And, as they say, focusing on when you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. And you don't want to do it in a way that like, oh, I'm going to do this because then I'll get what I want. But no, when you truly put your heart and soul into focusing on helping somebody else and making that impact, things just felt smoother. I remember the year we finally achieved that pink Cadillac, and I had tried for that year after year after year, and it just never came together. But the year we did it was one of the easiest years I ever had in my career because I truly focused on my people, on making an impact, on helping my customers, on helping my team members get, what they wanted out of their business. And I kept that in the forefront of my brain, and things just fell into place. And it was such a beautiful, wonderful year. I was truly team focused instead of I focused. And that's what it looks like when we can keep impact over income. So as you're working on your personal calling map, just keep that in mind. Keep that at the forefront of your brain. Impact over income. Okay, let's talk about creating your personal calling map. And actually, I have eight steps. We're going to break this down. And again, as I shared last time, I realized that, this whole training is best done where you can see it. It's, visually where you can read it. So really take the time to really pause. Maybe you're driving right now to work, or driving the kids someplace, or you're folding laundry or cooking dinner. And that's okay. Go ahead and just listen to the episode, but then come back when you can really work through it and actually do the steps with me. Take the time, put me back on speakerphone or plug your earbuds in, grab your pen and paper, grab your Discovering Your Calling workbook if you've downloaded that, and let's do the work together. But if right now you can't do that, that's totally fine. Just listen, and then come back and do the work. Okay. So our 8 steps for creating this personal calling map. And again, the personal calling map is just a visual way, like a mind map of plugging in your goal and all the steps you need in order to achieve that goal until you get down to the finest little detail. And again, the goal is to get it down to where one of the steps looks like something you could accomplish in 15 minutes. If you can do that, you did a beautiful personal calling map. But step number 1 is figuring out, first of all, what is that thing that you feel like that might be my calling? Let's give it a try. And I really want to emphasize try, because as I've shared several times throughout this challenge, finding your calling is like a big, giant experiment. And some of the things you're going to try may not be the thing, but you're never going to know unless you get out there and try them. And what will happen is by trying something, that's evidence. It's evidence of, oh, wow, this totally is not what I want to do. It's evidence that maybe, oh, wow, this is exactly what I want to do. I love this. Or it might be evidence that, all right, this is not bad, but I feel like I need to make some tweaks here to figure it out. So be willing to just test and try and experiment. And that's why it takes a while. That's why it takes 6 months, 12 months. It took me a long time to get where I am today. And honestly, I'm still kind of tweaking things. I feel like we never really get it perfected, but we just got to be out there doing it. So what is that one thing that kind of tugs at your heart? That one thing that came up over and over and over again as you collected those clues throughout this challenge? What's that one thing that you've been thinking like, oh, I wonder if I could do this. I wonder what it would look like if I created this side hustle to do X, Y, and Z. Just pick the thing and then think about what would you like to accomplish and achieve by trying this thing. And I am going to give you some examples in a minute, so hold on. And what would feel good to you if you were doing this, if you were actually doing this thing? Maybe you've been thinking, I love organizing my kitchen, and it drives me crazy when I go into my friend's house or my sister-in-law's house, or, you just see people struggling with like a disorganized kitchen. And you're thinking, that would be a fun business to have. Just, you're good at it. Your friends ask you to help organize things. And you're just thinking, that would just be kind of fun to do. So maybe that's the thing you're going to test out. So think about that for you. What is that thing for you? And get in a place where you're really thinking like, yeah, that would be fun. So that's going to be the one thing, your one goal that you're going to put in the center of this mind map. Now, I'm going to create this visual for you. The outcome we're looking for is your personal calling mind map is going to be, picture a big circle in the middle of a paper. And then from that, you're going to have 4 smaller circles coming off of that. And if you've ever mind mapped, it's simply a mind map. There are digital tools you can use for this. You can use a piece of paper. You can, there's one in the Discovering Your Calling workbook. There's an example of it for you. And I will share some more examples within the Facebook group as well to show you what this can look like. And there's several ways to do this, but basically it's one circle, big circle, with your ultimate goal in the middle. And then off of that, you're going to have 4 smaller circles at least. And I'm going to tell you why at least 4 in a minute. 4 smaller circles that come off of that. And then from those, you're going to put other little circles that get down to the, small little details off of those 4 other circles. So again, I hope you can picture this with me. And so in the center of the big circle, you're going to put your goal. Then you're going to brainstorm ways to achieve that goal. And you're going to come up with at least 4 action steps to achieve that goal. And I always say at least 4. And here's why. 1, it might be that there's a lot of steps in order to achieve this one thing. So we need to break it down into smaller chunks. Remember, the goal is to get it where you could do an action step in 15 minutes or less. There's also, sometimes you can do this after you have your calling. Like I used to do this mind mapping when I had a big goal. Let's say it was achieving my pink Cadillac. I would put achieve pink Cadillac in the middle. And instead of steps, I would put 4 ways I could achieve it. And it might be 1, selling X amount of product. It could be step 2 would be helping 5 team members move up a level on the career path. Step 3 might be, doing a challenge with my team to hold, get in front of so many customers, hold so many appointments. And then, another one for step 4. The reason we do 4 is I learned, again, the hard way. We need enough balls in the air. We need enough different ways to achieve one goal. We need enough to break down each step so they're small scenarios, because you never want just one ball in the air. Because if that one ball does not land in the right hole, oh, sorry, you're not going to achieve your goal. But if you have a lot of different options, if you have 4 different balls in the air, and there's a really good chance that 1 or 2 will land in the right spot. So even if 2 don't land for you, it's okay because you have backup steps there waiting for you. I hope that makes sense. But honestly, for your first personal calling mind map, it's really about getting down to the smaller steps anyway. But we need to break it down into those 4 actionable, easy to implement steps. So what would be the 4 easy to implement steps that you would have to do in order to achieve your goal? So I'll give you some examples. This was a real life example. One of my clients is a she wasn't retired, but a burned out teacher who needed to make a career change. And we talked about through the Discovering Your Calling Academy, we came up with this idea that she could create this almost a mastermind for teachers. And she knew who she wanted to work with. She has high input, so she had a lot of ideas that she just wanted to share with teachers to help them not feel burned out and to help them become better at their job. So becoming an entrepreneur was brand new for her. So her personal calling map started with so in the center was her create a beta group for a teacher mastermind. That was her goal. And we called it a beta because betas are a great way to start. They don't have to be perfect. They're testing. It's a test group. It's to try it out. And they know that. The people coming in know that it's a beta group. So things aren't perfect, but you're going to help perfect it. So for this beta group, 3 of her 4 steps I have here. Step number 1 was set up my business. Like we're going down to basics because she'd never owned a business before. Step 2 for her was decide what platform to host a program. And step 3 was promote the beta group. So those were her first steps. Then she had to break each step down into smaller, again, easy to implement things you could do even if you're super busy. And so with step number 1, set up my business, she had things like get an LLC, research credit card processing companies. And then off of research processing companies, she had another little bubble off of there that said sign up for credit card processing company. She also had a bubble that's off of set up my business of setting up a bank account. So do you see how it's these small little action steps that she could then take? Under step 2, decide what platform to host program. She had a bubble that said research options. And she could go even smaller with that as well, obviously. And then to promote the beta group, she had things like social media, reach out to former mentees, people she's worked with before. And off of that bubble, she had create and send email. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a visual in your mind of what this will look like. Now, let me give you one more example. Let's say that you are going to start that organization business and you're going to do it as a side hustle. So step 1 might be target market research. You want to investigate what bothers people the most in their homes. That's your goal with this target market research. So off of that bubble, you might have ask friends. Then you might have another bubble that says post the question on social media. You might have another bubble that says do Google research. Okay, I'm going to pause here because if you start to hear some background noise, I want to give you a little scenario where I am right now. We are staying with my ex-sister-in-law while we wait for our apartment to become ready. We're moving into a new luxury apartment in upstate New York. We just moved back from Delaware and somebody's hopping in the shower now. The water pipes, I'm in the basement hiding out. Thought it would be quiet. And the water pipes go right over me. So if you hear noise, I apologize. Hey, you got to make the best of what you can, right? Oh my gosh. Real life here, people. Real life. Now, for your organization business, let's go back to that. Step 2 might be brainstorm ideas to offer. And off of that, you have another little bubble that says come up with 3 offers. Then from that, you could have another bubble that says create a Canva, which if you're not familiar with Canva, is just a great program where you can create really cool pictures, diagrams, resources, all sorts of visuals. So create a Canva featuring these offers. And then off of that, it's promote the offers on social and with friends. So hopefully you're kind of getting the gist here of the idea that it's just taking all these ideas that are in your head on how to achieve this one thing, but you put it in a visual of bubbles. So bubble off of this, and then what steps do you need to take to accomplish that step? And then down, what do you need to do in order to accomplish that step? Again, the ultimate goal is that you get down to the smallest little action item that is easy to implement. And the reason we're doing this instead of just doing a to-do list is like I shared earlier, our tendency is when we just write out all these steps we have to do on one big sheet of paper, it just looks very overwhelming. And sometimes we're like, I don't even know where to start, where to even begin. And when you can create your personal calling mind map, it becomes a visual map where you can quickly see, oh, this is the step I need to take. The other beautiful thing about creating a personal calling map is you can also see where there's holes, because sometimes we forget things. And when we create this map, it may not be instantly noticeable to you, but eventually you can look at it and like, oh my gosh, I'm missing a big chunk here. I need to add a 5th step, a 5th important step, or maybe there's even a 6th step. So you can add to it. It's kind of a living, breathing document that you can just keep adding to, or create a whole new one. If it becomes a whole nother goal, part of your big goal might be chunked down into smaller goals. So, but that's a whole nother thing. I don't want to get too confusing here. Okay. The next step you're going to do once you do all your bubbles and really brainstorm all these ideas until you can't think of anything else anymore that needs to go on your personal calling map, is pull back up your Clifton Strengths Report or take a look at your natural talents and strengths. And just like we did in Waypoint number 7, you want to look at each talent theme and think, which of my talent themes are going to help me get this one task done easier, quicker, better? And which talent theme might get in the way? They might hinder me. Remember, we talked about that dialing up and dialing down your talent themes in Waypoint number 7. It's the same concept here. And if you did download the Discovering Your Calling workbook, there is a page in there that has what's called the Talent Map tool. And it's a tool that we use in the Academy to help you kind of really map out your talents and which steps fall under each talent theme. But for now, it's honestly, you can just kind of do a quick synopsis of it and look at things and just be aware of like, oh, when I have to do this step, my, futuristic talent theme is going to be really good at that. Or when I'm trying to come up with 3 offers, I need to lean into my strategic theme. So just be aware of which talents are going to help you and which ones are going to hinder you with each step on your personal calling map. Then here's the big one. If you don't do this step, you might as well not even bother with the rest of it. And the final step in this personal calling map waypoint is to circle the step you will take first. Which of these steps will you implement first? And then put a date on it. Put a date next to it and commit to doing it. Remember that you should have done this down to the easy to implement steps. So for instance, when we go back to my clients on creating who wanted to do the beta group for the teachers, one of her smallest steps was, researching credit card processing companies and then signing up for one. So, she would just put a date on it and just say, okay, on Monday, I'm going to commit to spending 30 minutes, or maybe it's just 15 minutes. Maybe she needs to spend a week, but for 15 minutes every day, she's going to research some credit card processing companies. And on Friday, she's going to make a decision. So she gives herself, 3 to 4 days to research. And then Friday, I'm making a decision and signing up for a credit card processing company. Or if you're doing that organization business, maybe you're going to say, okay, I want to do that target market research first. So on Monday, I'm going to spend 15 minutes texting some friends and asking them, which drawer in your kitchen bothers you the most? Or which, what in your home bothers you the most when it comes to organization? And then on Tuesday, you're going to create a post on social media. And then on Wednesday, you're going to spend 15 minutes just Googling or researching. And that might take a couple of days of doing some Google research. But do you see how you can break this down where it doesn't seem so overwhelming? And that's the ultimate goal. So what's the one step that you will commit to first? Put the dates on it. And then you're going to look before you even start. We're not done with this final step. Before you even start the action step, look and see which of the steps of your 4 main steps will you do next. Put a date on it. What will you do third and fourth? And you guessed it, put a date on it. And here's the thing, my friend. It's okay if you say, okay, for December, I'm going to just focus on step 1. We're going to get all these done in, step 1. And then in January, I'm going to focus on step 2. And in February, I'll focus on step 3. Again, it doesn't matter how long it takes you as long as you're doing something every single day that's going to move you closer to your ultimate dream life. Because here's the thing, if we don't do anything, nothing's going to change. But if you start taking these little baby action steps, it's amazing what you will achieve in a short time frame. And I say short time frame in a year. I mean, a year seems like a long time, but oh my gosh, doesn't it seem like we were just getting ready for Christmas yesterday? And here we are coming upon Thanksgiving. When I'm recording this, it's November 22nd, 2024. Thanksgiving's less than a week away. And I swear I just ate Thanksgiving dinner last week. Like a year goes by so fast, my friend. So what can you do to start moving the needle a little bit every single day? And don't get caught up on all the things you have to do. Just focus in on what's that one thing you can do tomorrow. Now that you have your action step in place, what's next here for the Discovering Your Calling Challenge? Well, we have one more episode left for the podcast, and that's on mindset mastery. Next week, I hope you'll come back again. And I'm going to teach you how to break free from the sharks, the anchors, and the danger buoys that might be keeping you stuck in a career that's not fulfilling and not living the freedom-driven lifestyle that you desire. And honestly, I feel like that episode is probably the most crucial one of all. I'm also going to be sharing a really special announcement with you at the end of that episode. So don't miss it. It comes out, every Tuesday mornings when our podcast should come out if technology gods are with us. And I also want to remind you too that this is the last week to up-level your experience in this Discovering Your Calling challenge. You can still do the VIP upgrade and receive 2 one-on-one coaching sessions with me for just $347. That is really, really great deal, like really great deal. So if you want to really tap into your strengths and really understand them, and then maybe we can spend that second session doing your personal calling map so that you can step into 2025, kick it off, like really knowing your strengths and having a map to get you where you want, your ultimate life goal. Like, how amazing would that be? So again, November 30th is the deadline to do the VIP upgrade. I hate to say it, but it is. So if you want to up level, you want to upgrade, you have a few more days to do that. All right, my friends, I hope this has been helpful. And as I shared in the beginning, I know it's a lot listening to these episodes without seeing things shown and explained. I am going to post a few visuals in the Facebook group for you to see. If you have the workbook, which you can still download, you can see a visual in there that kind of helps you out. But it's really a mind map. So just think about a mind map, but it's a different way of working through the mind map. And if you have any questions at all, find me over in the DMs on Facebook or Instagram, or send me an email at sherry@sherry.com, and I'd be happy to walk you through these steps. And otherwise, I will see you back here next week for our final Mindset Mastery episode of the Discovering Your Calling Challenge. All right, thanks for being here, and go create that mind map. Thank you for spending this time with me. My hope is something you heard today inspires you to take action toward discovering your calling. I just have 2 favors to ask of you before you go. 1, if you found value and enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and you might hear your review read on a future episode. And 2, can you share this episode with 3 friends who will also enjoy it as much as you did? By doing these things, you will help us grow the podcast to make a bigger impact on the world. And until next week, remember, you've been created to live a life of fulfillment, freedom, purpose, success, and joy.